Gerard Woodley was killed outside this building?
Was that what?
Were you here when Gerard Woodley was
No,
killed?
matter of fact, I was upstate.
Really?
Yeah.
That was in 2016, right?
Mm-hmm.
Crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he lived right here?
Yeah, he used to live, yeah.
Did you know him?
That's my nephew.
I personally believe that Gerard Woodley shot Big L because he had a falling out with his older brother.
Big L's own childhood friend Gerard Woodley shot him 9 times in cold blood, and then just a few years later, he was found gunned down in Harlem. What really happened to the man accused of killing one of New York's greatest lyrical prodigies? Why was Cameron, of all people, at his funeral? And how deep did the betrayal go? This is the truth behind Big L's death and what happened to the man who pulled the trigger. The death of Gerard Woodley. After the tragic death of Big L on June 24, 2016, the streets of Harlem, now changing but still ruled by the same quiet rules of respect, betrayal, and revenge, saw another deadly moment unfold. Gerard Woodley, the man once accused of killing Big L, was gunned down in cold blood. He was 46 years old, one shot right to the head. Clean, deliberate, and silent. Just like that, the man whose name had been synonymous with Big L's unsolved murder was gone. The news didn't make national headlines. There were no candlelight vigils, no tributes or think pieces, just a short police blotter report and a few murmurs in Harlem until hip-hop forums caught wind. And when they did, the story blew wide open again. But what truly sent the internet into a frenzy was one detail that surfaced a few days later. Cameron, the Dipset icon and Harlem native, reportedly attended Woodley's funeral. That revelation hit like a bomb. On Reddit, in YouTube comments, and across hip-hop Twitter, fans and conspiracy theorists alike began dissecting every possible meaning. Why was Cam at the funeral of the man accused of killing Big L? One Reddit thread asked. Was he paying his respects, or was there more to the story? Some brushed it off as street logic. Cam was friends with both L and Gerard, one user wrote. They all came up on the same blocks. It's not that shocking if you understand Harlem. Loyalty runs deep, and sometimes it ain't black and white. But others weren't so quick to rationalize. They saw Cam's presence not as coincidence, but as a quiet confirmation of long-held suspicions that maybe the Harlem rap scene knew more about L's murder than they ever let on. It's not confirmed, one deep dive post read, but the optics are wild. Cam knew Gerard, he knew Big L, he knew the history, and yet he shows up to pay respects to the alleged killer? That says something. That says a lot. In the weeks that followed, speculation spiraled. One theory suggested that Cam had always remained loyal to Woodley, even after L's death. To some, it wasn't about right or wrong, it was about the code. The unwritten laws of Harlem where friendships, grudges, and secrets stretch back decades, and loyalty sometimes means standing beside people the rest of the world has condemned. Maybe Cam didn't see it as betrayal, another commenter theorized. Maybe he saw it as a business, Harlem business. That kind of thinking is hard for outsiders to grasp, but in those circles, sometimes death isn't personal, it's procedural. What made things even murkier were resurfaced claims about Big L's own actions in the months before his death. Internet sleuths pointed to past interviews and forum posts, suggesting that L hadn't just been a rising star in the rap game, he'd also been dancing too close to the flame. One widely circulated Reddit post alleged that L had been rolling with a known hitman, a figure with deep ties to street retaliation efforts, and that Gerard's crew had become a target. The implication? That Big L wasn't just caught in the crossfire, he was part of the fire. Even Donald Finney, Big L's older brother, had acknowledged this dark overlap. In a past interview, Donald admitted that L might have been doing more than just recording freestyles. In trying to defend his family's name, he had aligned himself with dangerous people, perhaps even participating in retaliatory moves meant to send messages of their own. Big L wasn't some choir boy, a user bluntly commented. People want to paint him as a martyr, but he was running with dudes who were getting things done in the streets. That comes with consequences. So when Woodley was killed, many saw it not as random, but as karma finally catching up. The man who may have pulled the trigger on a rap legend met a similar fate nearly 2 decades later on the same Harlem soil, a single bullet to the head, quiet, clean, and final. But the questions haven't stopped. Who killed Gerard Woodley? Was it a long overdue revenge hit? Was it someone avenging Big L after all these years? Or was it unrelated, a separate street beef that just happened to tie up a loose end in hip-hop history? Police offered little insight, no suspects, no arrests. Just another body, another case file collecting dust in a city too busy to look backward. Yet for fans of Big L and those who believe in street justice, the symbolism was too perfect to ignore. The man who may have killed a king was taken out in the same ruthless fashion. Some people called it poetic justice, others called it street closure. I don't know who did it, one post read, but somebody wanted to balance the scale. That wasn't random, that was intentional. To this day, Cameron has never publicly addressed the rumors surrounding his presence at Woodley's funeral. Maybe it was out of respect, maybe it was to avoid reigniting old flames, or maybe silence is part of the code too. In the end, both men, Big L and Gerard Woodley, are gone. Harlem remembers them both in different ways. One as a lyrical prodigy whose star was snuffed out too soon, the other as a man with secrets he took to the grave. But the streets remember everything. The night Big L was killed. Now let's rewind, a bitter cold night on February 15, 1999, when the streets of Harlem fell silent in the aftermath of one of hip-hop's most tragic losses. Lamont Coleman, better known to the world as Big L, was gunned down in a hail of bullets. He was just 24 years old, an underground legend known for his razor-sharp lyricism and raw authenticity. But in Harlem, his death wasn't just another murder. It was a message, a statement, a calculated move in a much bigger game. The details surrounding Big L's death has always been murky, shrouded in mystery, speculation, and whispers from street corners. What's widely believed, though, is this. That night, L got a phone call. Someone he knew, someone he likely trusted, called him out to the street. Some say he thought it was a friendly meetup, others believe it was a setup from the start.
I was in my mom's crib and, somebody called me like, yo, you heard that Big L just got killed uptown? I was like, nah, I just, kind of spoke to him.
Just before 9 p.m. on 139th Street near Lenox Avenue, gunshots echoed through the neighborhood. Big L was hit 9 times, 7 bullets tore through his face, 2 struck his chest. The nature of the shooting was brutal, precise. Not a random drive-by, not a stray bullet. This was an execution. The police moved fast, arresting a man named Gerard Woodley, a childhood friend of Big L. To many in the community, Woodley's name wasn't a surprise. He and Big L had grown up together, tight, but from time to time, things between them had gotten complicated. Rumors had already been circulating that something had gone sour between the two. When Woodley was charged with the murder, people assumed it was only a matter of time before justice would be served. But that moment never came. Despite the arrest, the case fell apart. Witnesses refused to testify. Evidence was thin. The streets went quiet again, not out of peace, but out of fear. With no one willing to talk, prosecutors had no choice but to drop the charges. Woodley walked free. And Harlem? Harlem was left with questions. In the years that followed, theories grew like weeds in the cracks of broken pavement. The police file stayed cold, but the streets talked.
I don't think they know the real story. My family, you know what I mean? And they really just worried about me and how I was gonna come home, what I was gonna do when I came home.
Then, years later, Big L's older brother, Donald Finney, stepped forward and gave the world a version of events that reshaped how people looked at that night. According to Donald, the murder wasn't really about Big L at all. In a raw, emotional interview, he revealed what he believed he and their older brother, Big Lee, were the actual targets. Gerard Woodley, he said, had beef not with L, but with a family. But Big Lee was locked up at the time. Donald was harder to reach. So the killer went for the most visible, most vulnerable target, Big L. They killed my brother to get to me, Donald said. Gerard and us were tight. This was personal, but it was also about sending a message written in blood. Suddenly, the narrative shifted. This wasn't just a rap beef. It wasn't industry drama or jealousy over success. It was family warfare. Old alliances turned to betrayal. Childhood friendships drowned in Harlem's harsh code of the streets. Then came the internet era, as hip-hop forums and Reddit threads exploded with amateur sleuths and street historians. More pieces of the puzzle began surfacing. One user claimed that Cameron, another Harlem legend and once a close affiliate of Big L, had allegedly said in a private conversation that Big L tried to kill Woodley just a week before his own death. No source, no confirmation, but enough to fan the flames. Another theory suggested that L had recently been rolling with a known hitman who was allegedly targeting members of Woodley's crew. If that was true, then Big L wasn't just an innocent victim, he was knee-deep in something far more dangerous. Even though nothing is proven, all evidence suggests that L was getting too involved in street affairs tied to his brothers, one Reddit commenter wrote. He wasn't just an innocent bystander. The theory was dark, but it made sense to some. Big L had one foot in the industry, one foot still in the streets. Harlem didn't care how good your rhymes were. Loyalty, betrayal, and survival always came first. There were even deeper conspiracies. One Redditor, going by the name Real Talk 139, dropped a chilling post that Big Lee and Lil Lee, relatives of Big L, were also taken out in hits years later. Part of what he claimed was a calculated effort to erase their bloodline. No official reports back that up, but the rumor stuck. In Harlem, perception often feels just as powerful as proof. They weren't just killing L, the post read, they were making sure his whole legacy couldn't retaliate. Whether that's true or just online paranoia, it reflects a deeper fear embedded in the culture. That fame, talent, or success won't save you when old street codes come into play. Big L had been on the cusp of greatness. Columbia Records had been in talks. Jay-Z wanted to sign him to Rockefeller. The streets said he was about to blow. But Harlem had its own rules, and when certain lines were crossed, forgiveness wasn't an option. As for Gerard Woodley, the man once arrested for Big L's murder, he was killed in 2016 in Harlem, shot in the head. Just like L, his death remains unsolved. Another chapter closed without answers. Some saw it as karma, others saw it as a final nail in a saga soaked in blood and betrayal. Today, Big L's name is often spoken with reverence. Murals in Harlem keep his image alive. His debut album, Lifestyles of the Poor and Dangerous, is hailed as a classic. And every February 15th, fans light candles and blast his freestyles. Echoes of a genius silenced too soon. But the truth about that night, it may never fully surface. And maybe that's how the streets wanted it. Because in Harlem, legends are made, but they're also buried. Legacy and unanswered questions. To this day, Big L's murder remains officially unsolved. The NYPD never closed the case. No new suspects have been arrested. No one has ever stood trial. The file remains open, collecting dust in some back office, but in the court of public opinion, in the streets of Harlem, and the forums of the internet, many believe the story has already been told, even if the ending was never written in ink. For fans, for hip-hop historians, and for Harlem itself, the pain never left. Big L wasn't just another rapper gunned down too young. He was a once-in-a-generation lyricist, a visionary with a street edge and a scholar's mind, blending gritty realism with complex wordplay. And he was right on the brink of breaking through. His legacy, however, lives on powerfully. Revered as a pioneer of punchline rap, Big L set the template for future heavyweights.
We met Puff yet, but we was downtown on 139th getting some weed from Buzz Me In chicken spot, and SP got out, and him and SP got into a battle, a furious one. Yeah.
Artists like Jay-Z, Jadakiss, Fabulous, and J. Cole have all cited him as a major influence. His infamous 1995 debut, Lifestyle of the Poor and Dangerous, is now considered a cult classic. Freestyles with DJ Stretch and Bobbito remain legendary moments where raw talent met no filter, and L's brilliance was laid bare for the world to witness.
Oh, he'd be on the phone with Dame Dash like, yo, I'm about to sign a Rockefeller. I used to be like, oh, he's like, yo, it's gonna get crazy.
We was about to do something crazy, Jay-Z once said, reflecting on a potential supergroup that would have included himself, Big L, and others from the Rockefeller Circle. It never materialized. L was killed before that dream could become reality. The industry lost a legend before the mainstream even got to fully see him shine. And yet every memory of his genius is haunted by the same shadow. His murder, the betrayal, the unanswered questions, the rumors that keep surfacing, and the now infamous image of Cameron reportedly attending Gerard Woodley's funeral. A visual metaphor for the complicated web of Harlem loyalties that surrounded Big L's life and death. Theories abound. Some fans believe the music industry played a part indirectly, that L's gritty authenticity, his street ties, and his refusal to play politics made him a threat to certain interests. In a scene that often rewards marketability over realness, Big L was too real, too connected, too sharp. A street-certified poet who couldn't be molded. Others offer a different view, that L was simply too loyal for his own good. Despite his rising fame, he never left the block, never turned his back on his brothers even when their names became liabilities, that he kept ties with people who were entangled in dangerous beefs. Lots of fans think Big L was a victim of his own loyalty, one YouTube commentator said. He had the talent to escape the streets, but he chose to stay grounded. He stayed connected to street politics when he should have focused solely on music. And in Harlem, that decision can be fatal. The tragedy of Big L is layered. It's not just about a talented rapper being killed, It's about ambition and loyalty colliding, about growing up in an environment where childhood friends can turn into enemies and where the codes of the street can be more powerful than the law. His story also stands as a cautionary tale, a warning to young artists caught between two worlds. One world offers fame, money, and a way out. The others demand allegiance, respect, and an understanding that the past is never truly behind you. Big L tried to walk both paths, and it cost him his life. As for Gerard Woodley, his own violent end in 2016 only deepened the mythos. Shot in the head in Harlem, his murder echoed L's, swift, targeted, and unsolved. Some called it poetic justice, others called it karma, but for many fans, it felt like a bookend, the final chapter in a tragic cycle. And yet, closure remains elusive. No official answers, no justice served, just memories, mixtapes, and murals, faded reminders of what could have been. In the end, the story of Big L and Gerard Woodley isn't just a tale of betrayal, it's about dreams deferred, about how the environment and history shape a person's fate. It's about how even the most gifted minds can be lost to circumstances beyond their control. Big L was a lyrical genius, an MC with razor-sharp wit, intricate wordplay, and a flow that could outshine anyone on the mic. He was a poet of the pavement, telling Harlem's story with raw authenticity. But his light was dimmed far too soon, gunned down just as he was stepping into greatness. And years later, Gerard Woodley, his childhood friend turned alleged killer, met the same end, taken out by a single bullet on those very same Harlem streets. Their fates are forever linked, not just by geography or history, but by a tangled web of street codes, broken bonds, and buried secrets.
It's about business, but it's still also a code of ethics. Like I said, I'm raised from where we wasn't raised to tell. You wasn't brought up to say, hey, this guy did that.
And then there's the silence that says more than words ever could. The funeral photo, the whispers online, the unanswered questions. Cameron, one of Harlem's most iconic figures, allegedly showing up to Woodley's burial. A man who came up with both L and Gerard, a man who never publicly explained his presence. That silence, echoing louder than any statement, has only added fuel to the fire. Because no matter how much time has passed, one thing feels certain. Big L's death wasn't random. It wasn't a robbery gone wrong, it wasn't beef with a rival crew, it was calculated, it was deliberate, it was personal. Whether it was over street business, old grudges, or a message meant for someone else, L's murder left a hole in hip-hop and in Harlem that has never truly healed. Internet sleuths have spent years trying to piece it all together. Was it because of his brother's beefs? Was he involved deeper than fans ever knew? Did the industry turn a blind eye because of who he was aligned with? There are theories, rumors, and supposed inside info, but no closure. And that's what haunts Harlem to this day. Not just the loss, but the lack of justice, the silence, the truth that stays just out of reach.